Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Art Whisper 88. On your screen I have my large format gel plate, and what I had done is placed some horizontal lines with my acrylic paint pen. This is a red, and it takes a few minutes to dry, but I thought I would do the red color first so it doesn't get contaminated by the black. And then I will use my fat marker and place some random lines. I'm going to do an experiment and see how these lines transfer. And I'm going to use a trusty Sharpie pen, which is a finer point, to do more thin lines. And I'll do some random marks, as I usually do. So I will let this dry for a few minutes, maybe like 5 minutes. Since these are alcohol based and the alcohol content evaporates rapidly, and what I will do at the next step is, with my brayer, place a very thin coat of acrylic paint. This is again my Artist Loft parchment, and so the background of this print will be white, and I intend to introduce some darker elements, like with black tissue paper and such. I'm adding a raw sienna, and I will be using, this is a little wider, this is my ruler here. This is a 4-inch brayer, and it's a soft rubber, which I like because it gives a little bit. Now in this case, I'm just going to do a vertical line, vertical strokes with the brayer. So I'm creating a kind of a grain with the colors. Now I can see the red is not completely dry, so it's kind of staining a bit, but that's okay. Adds to the texture. And again, I'm using the heel of my brayer to make vertical lines. So in a way, this composition is a study on lines as a design element. So you can make very effective compositions with simple things like lines and circles. So, okay, so that's my layer of parchment. The name of the paint is Parchment, and some raw sienna. And I'll see what result I can get. This time I'll be careful not to overdo it with the pressure, because sometimes for some reason when the pressure is too great, the printing paper tends to stick to the plate. Now I want to give a shout out to a viewer who recommended that I treat the plate with some mineral oil, which I did last night, and it was very helpful because it helped remove the stains of the markers very effectively, and at the same time it conditions the plate, because the plate does contain mineral oil, and after a while it will evaporate, and it makes the plate very sticky. So when you replenish the oil, it makes it a little more supple. I think it's a very good transfer. There's a lot of smearing with the red, but it's a very interesting effect. Let me try this from the other side. There we go. It's a very painterly effect, which I like. The marks here have transferred very well, and the same thing with the vertical black lines, which are very clear. And because this one wasn't completely dry, it tended to smear, but it does create an interesting texture. So this is the first step. I'm going to let this dry, and then I will apply some other textures and maybe use a stencil. So be back in a few minutes. Okay, it's been a few minutes, and I have cleaned off the residue here as much as I could. I'm just using a wet rag. And now if I wanted to clean this off completely, it's helpful to use mineral oil. And the mineral oil will help dissolve the residue of the markers. So just clean this off as much as I could. And I will place another layer of green gray as a second layer right here. It won't be a whole lot, just little touches here and there. And I'm going to use a different brayer. This is a smaller one. This is about a 3-inch. And try to make some sections here. I'm deliberately leaving out some areas that are not touched by the paint. And as usual, I will do my scribble. And I'm gonna try to do is remove some of this so it becomes like a ghost print. So I'm going to use some copy paper. And take out some of it. I'm pressing very, very lightly. And as you can see, what the copy paper does, it takes out not all of it, but some of it, and it gives it an interesting kind of ghost print look. Okay. So I am putting on a second layer on this image. Let me just lay this on. Okay, let's see what I have. Okay, that's the second layer. And you see, because I took out some of it, it gives it that faded and mottled look, more like a ghost print, which that's the look that I'm after. And again, I'm going to let this dry for a few minutes and come in with some collage. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back from a short break, and while waiting for this to dry, I cut up some black tissue paper, and here's some of my copy paper that I had cut up into some shapes that I like. And here is a used stencil, which I think will be, well, I'll see if I can incorporate this, because I do like these. They're interesting to look at. So anyways, I thought this shape, this is actually an oval shape that is cut into two. And I always like to do this type of look where you have two pieces back to back. And let's see, maybe this piece here. And maybe this here to create some kind of like a dialogue between shapes. I think that will work. And it's an interesting fact, when I do these videos, I occasionally glance at the camera screen, and sometimes what looks a certain way in actuality, it looks very different on a camera screen. And I can see why some artists take pictures of their work and try to do an assessment or a correction after looking at a photo, because you're kind of looking at it with a fresh eye. I just thought I'd make a mention of that. So I will do the delicate stuff first. And that's one. There's two. Yeah, these smaller pieces are so much easier to handle. It's the large pieces, especially the tissue paper, is very difficult. Okay, I will try to do this directly. We're just mounting it directly like so. Otherwise I'll rip it. The same thing with this. Now with tissue, when you mount it, you have to be very careful. Okay, now to see which direction looks best. I think I'm gonna go with this. Again, I'd like to mention that this is a technique used in wallpaper where you apply the glue to both sides of the surface. So I used to do wallpaper when I was much younger. That was when I could climb ladders safely. Not so much anymore. There we go. So when you apply the adhesive to both sides, that's making sure that there's a good contact and that the piece will stick and not come off. Okay. Now this part looks a little transparent, which is, I think, is cool. I'm not sure how transparent it will be when it dries, but I'll see what happens. But so far, this is the composition. I kind of planned it ahead of time, but as you can see, the creative process, you do things on the fly, and sometimes what you imagined at first is not going to work, and then you try something else. So here's my collage piece. I'm going to do a close-up. As you can see, the gel print creates these nice subtle textures. I especially like the ovals and the scribbles. So that's it. And again, thank you so much for subscribing and watching. And please like, share your comments, and I hope to see you next time.